Stop using these 50 bathroom products, banned in Europe. Your bathroom is a $500 billion safety lie. Get this, the fresh smell that says clean, it's the alibi. The bottle smiles, the label says gentle, the fine print hides the rest. Meanwhile, kids breathe steam that carries what nobody listed. Pets nap on fabrics that bloom scent with heat. You feel the foam, not the exposure math. Here's the split screen. Europe cuts risk early, the US waits for proof, and your shelf becomes the test site. We're naming products, decoding labels, and giving fixes you'll feel this week. To see how this lie became normal, we have to go back. The bathroom safety lie. How clean became a marketing script. The fork starts with rules. Europe built consumer safety on a precautionary backbone. If credible risk exists and safer options are available, limit first, argue later. The US normalized safe until proven harmful, which sounds reasonable until proof shows up after a decade of sales. That split wrote the recipes on both sides of the Atlantic. Then one word took over the label, fragrance. In the US, that single line can legally stand in for dozens of chemicals, solvents, stabilizers, fixatives, shielded as trade secrets. In Europe, common fragrance allergens must be named above thresholds, so shoppers at least see limonene or linalool flagged. The US bottle says fragrance, the exposure remains guesswork. The next blind spot wasn't even an ingredient. It was a contaminant. Ethoxylated surfactants, think SLES in shampoos and body wash, can carry trace 14-dioxane from manufacturing. You won't see it on a label because it's unintentional. Europe bans intentional use and pressures suppliers toward cleaner processes. In the US, federal law hasn't set a hard national cosmetic limit. New York stepped in, capping trace levels and forcing reformulations, while California lists it under Proposition 65. Translation. State rules move faster than Washington, and your brand's answer depends on your zip code. Meanwhile, we learn to equate clean with sensation. Foam reads like power, scent reads like proof, marketing leaned into it. Microcapsules made fabrics fresh for days. Musks helped the note last. The room smelled like achievement, even if residue still sat on skin and fiber. Here's where the sensory trap bites. The reward is immediate. The consequences are quiet. A shirt that whispers lemon at noon feels comforting. The headache or rash later feels personal, not regulatory. Corporate playbooks adjusted to the map. Same brand, different formula. When the EU restricts a fragrance allergen or caps a preservative, companies swap components for that region and keep legacy mixes where they're still legal. Cost models call it regional optimization. Legal calls it compliance. Consumers call it the same logo. The guts change with the rulebook. Packaging language learned the script, too. Plant-based can still mean ethoxylated, with the same contamination risk unless suppliers vacuum strip inputs. Hypoallergenic isn't a regulated standard. Dermatologist tested might mean a small irritation panel, not long-term safety at real-life frequency. Free and clear often drops dyes and heavy perfume, but leaves formaldehyde-releasing preservatives or masking scents inside the fragrance box. The bottle calms you. The chemistry doesn't always follow. Oversight fragmentation helped the illusion. In the US, cosmetics sit with FDA, disinfectants are pesticides under EPA, consumer product hazards fall to CPSC. Nobody owns indoor air as a category, and bathrooms are where small volume meets steam and lungs. Europe centralized hazard classes under REACH and the cosmetics regulation, pulled in CMR classifications, and forced allergen disclosure on pack. Not perfect, just clearer. Now layer daily life. Hot water opens pores and airways. Thin skin around eyelids and underarms sees more contact per drop. Leave-on lotions sit for hours. Deodorants and antiperspirants add occlusion. Fragrance clings in folds. Kids hover at face level to towels and shirts. Pets nap on warm laundry. Dryer heat reactivates scent capsules, and the fresh plume fills the hallway. None of this is dramatic. All of it repeats. What nobody tells you is how quickly the system adapts when rules harden. New York capped 14-dioxane. Suppliers tightened processes. The same cleaned-up base started shipping everywhere because juggling dual inputs costs more. Retailers set toxic-free cosmetics lists. House brands reformulated fast. Proof the industry can move when it has to. So why do you still buy the bottle that performs? Because the aisle pairs identity with cues. Scent is social. Foam is effort. Kills 99.9% feels like certainty after a pandemic trained us to sanitize. And comparison traps are real. When you drop dryer sheets, static spikes for a few loads while residues wash out. When you switch detergents, old films linger and make the new one look weak. The rebound back to familiar feels like common sense. It's conditioning. Here's the quiet irony. Europe didn't chase purity, it raised floors. Allergen names on labels let people avoid specific triggers. Bans and restrictions nudged chemistries away from persistent musks and certain preservatives. Process expectations for contaminants pushed suppliers to clean up before a state attorney general or a lab forced a recall. You can see the results. Shorter ingredient lists that signal what matters. Fragrance disclosed by component, fewer long-lived base note. And here's your translation guide in 1 minute. If a product is unscented, check for masking fragrance, still chemistry. Fragrance-free should mean no fragrance at all. Credible certifications publish criteria. Scan the tail end for formaldehyde donors, DMDM, Hydantoin, quaternium 15, imidazolidinylurea, diazolidinylurea, bronopol, or MIMCI. Look for ETH and PEG as clues to ethoxylation. Then check if the brand states 14-dioxane controls or test results. If the EU version lists allergens online and the US version doesn't, the company can disclose. They chose not to hear. The lie isn't that products never work. It's that the signals you trust, smell, foam, long-lasting, became the safety story while the actual safety story hid in a black box, a byproduct, or a jurisdiction. We're going to pull the cabinet open, name the red flags, and swap on your timeline, not a lab's. Meanwhile, remember this baseline. Clean never needed a smell. The lie did. The rulebook fork. Why EU bans and US loopholes coexist. To see why the same logo pours two different formulas, follow the rules that wrote the recipes. Europe built a single spine for chemicals, REACH for industrial substances, the cosmetics regulation for what touches skin, and CLP to classify hazards. That spine lets regulators move whole families, carcinogens, mutagens, reproductive toxins, off shelves with one stroke. Add allergen disclosure rules and online ingredient portals, and a shopper can actually see what might set off their skin. Across the ocean, the US split the job. Cosmetics sit with the FDA, but until MoCRA started phasing in, the agency had limited pre-market authority. Fragrance blends remain trade secrets. Disinfectants live at the EPA as pesticides, where inerts don't need full disclosure on labels. Household hazards go to the CPSC, which focuses on burns and injuries, not the slow drip of sensitizers in steamy bathrooms. That patchwork means an irritant can be legal under one statute, invisible under another, and still end up in your morning routine. The data burden flips too. In the EU, companies must register chemicals, submit dossiers, and if a substance lands on a CMR list, expect it to be banned in cosmetics unless a rare exemption applies. In the US, regulators often need to prove harm at typical exposures before restricting a class, which takes time, studies, and political appetite. By the time proof lands, the product cycle has moved on. The marketing stayed in place. Take fragrance allergens. Europe names them once they cross tiny thresholds, so limonene or linalool shows up on lotion. That gives sensitive users a map. In the US, the bottle can just say fragrance. If your eyelids swell, you're chasing a ghost ingredient with no suspect list. It's not that the chemistry differs, the disclosure does. Now look at contaminants that ride along. Ethoxylated surfactants can carry 14-dioxane from manufacturing. Europe bans intentional use and pressures suppliers toward cleaner processes. Annexes and ecolabel criteria push trace levels down. The US has no national cosmetic limit. New York set tight caps and forced reformulations. California flags it under Prop 65. You felt the change on shelves because compliance with the strictest rule is cheaper than juggling run. The federal label didn't move. State law did. Meanwhile, the benzene surprise in aerosols showed the seam. Contaminated propellants slipped into dry shampoos, sunscreens, and deodorants. Recalls followed independent testing, not a pre-market gate. The EPA covers pesticides, the FDA covers cosmetics, and nobody continuous tests your bathroom air. Europe isn't immune to supply chain stumbles, but a single framework and faster hazard class updates mean fewer cracks to fall through. Retailers quietly became regulators. In the EU, house brands already mirror annex bans and allergen disclosure. In the US, major chains now publish toxic-free cosmetics lists. No lilial, no certain parabens, no phthalates, caps on dioxane, PFAS exclusions. Vendors reformulate to keep the shelf. Consumers feel it as a cleaner ingredient panel before federal rules ever change. Trade secrets keep the black box locked. US law allows fragrance to mask fixatives, solvents, and stabilizers, even as industry palettes list hundreds of possible molecules online without confirming what's in your bottle. Europe doesn't demand recipe disclosure, but allergen naming and category-wide bans carve real holes in the secrecy. You won't know the blend, but you'll see the likely culprit. MoCRA is the American catch-up. Facility registration, product listing, adverse event reporting, good manufacturing practices on the way. Important, but it doesn't ban the classes Europe already moved out, nor does it force fragrance component labels. So the practical fork persists. Europe limits families up front. The US adds paperwork and watches outcomes. When outcomes hurt, lawsuits and recalls do what rules didn't. Industry lives with both worlds. Regulatory teams build matrices. If the EU classifies a musk as persistent and bioaccumulative, swap it there. Keep the legacy base where it's still permitted. If Washington State or California bans a preservative, harmonize for the West Coast, then decide. One national formula or a fragmented map. Finance prefers one. That's why a New York dioxane cap cleaned products in Texas. Here's the part that matters at home. In Europe, allergy clinics can point patients to a label and say, avoid these names. In the US, clinicians see the same rashes and coughs, then tell families to trial fragrance-free, avoid MI/MCI and log reactions. Same medicine, less map. When schools, clinics, and gyms write procurement specs, fragrance-free soaps, MI-free leave-ons, no PFAS makeup, the building changes faster than national law. This is how bans and loopholes coexist. Europe sets floors and posts the rules on the door. The US leaves the door ajar, then relies on states, retailers, and recalls to catch what drifts through. Companies walk both hallways. Your shelf shows which one they chose today. The corporate playbook, same brand, different bottle. While regulators write the rules, brands write the screenplay. Step 1 in the corporate playbook is simple. Map the world, then optimize. If the EU bans a musk or caps a preservative, you reformulate for Brussels. If the US doesn't, you keep the legacy base where it still passes. A spreadsheet calls this regional optimization. Finance calls it margin protection. Consumers call it the same bottle. The guts change with the zip code. The safe-sounding shield is use as directed. It's everywhere because it turns risk into user error. Spray in a ventilated area. Don't inhale mist. Avoid contact with eyes. If your throat stings or your lids burn, you didn't follow instructions. Meanwhile, the product architecture didn't change, just the burden. You accept the fine print, then blame your weak, not the bottle, when your skin talks back. Then comes free and clear theater. Dyes drop off the label, heavy perfume softens, and the bottle reads like a sigh of relief. Inside, a masking scent can still hide under fragrance, and formaldehyde donors or MI/MCI can keep the water phase fresh. The copy solves the front-of-shelf problem. The formula keeps the back-end preservation cheap. For many families, that means the rash lingers even after the switch. It wasn't the color. It was the microdose that never left. Voluntary fragrance palettes add another layer. A brand links to hundreds of molecules it may use, some phased out, some theoretical, none confirmed for your bottle today. It looks like transparency and functions like fog. In Europe, allergen names must appear past thresholds, so the same conglomerate posts limonene, linalool, or citral on its EU portal and keeps fragrance full stop on the US version. Same parent company, different disclosure norm. Third-party seals split the difference between truth and theater. Some programs publish criteria, cap 1,4-dioxane, exclude specific phthalates in fragrance, and bar MI/MCI in leave-ons. Others lean on broader safety narratives while allowing proprietary scent and sensitizers at trace levels. The leaf icon looks identical at arm's length. The difference lives in an appendix no one reads at 7 p.m. in an aisle. Scent is where marketing earns its raise. Microcapsules, fixatives, and base notes are engineered to survive laundry, heat, and friction. A sweatshirt that still whispers fresh 2 weeks later isn't clean, it's performing. Persistent musks help, so do encapsulates that rupture with movement. The reward hits immediately, your brain tags it as success, so you repeat the routine that created the plume. Exposure becomes a habit loop. Aerosol formats ride the same loop. The cloud looks powerful. The format feels fast. Behind the valve, contaminated propellants have triggered benzene recalls in dry shampoos, sunscreens, and deodorants. Brands stress testing and supplier specs. Recalls cite lots and vendors. The pattern is the point. Pre-market, you never saw it coming. Post-market, the headline arrived before the fix reached your shelf. Packaging props complete the scene. Plant-based can still mean ethoxylated surfactants with a 1,4-dioxane hitchhiker unless suppliers vacuum strip inputs. Dermatologist tested can mean a small irritation panel on healthy adults, not your kid's neck under a backpack strap. Hypoallergenic has no single legal standard. Some lines earn it carefully, others treat it like wardrobe. The promise becomes the product when the ingredient panel stays vague. Inside companies, dual formulas are logistics, not drama. Regulatory teams maintain global matrices. EU allergens named, US opaque, EU preservative caps, US broader uses, retailer house brand specs in California and Washington that quietly exceed federal floors. Operations hates complexity, so a strict state cap for 1,4-dioxane, for instance, often lifts the national baseline because running one cleaned-up base is cheaper than juggling three. Legal and PR write the responses in advance, meets all applicable regulations, safe when used as directed. We continually evaluate our palette. All true in fragments, none addressing the background, stack in a steamy bathroom with a door closed and a fan that moves less air than the box promised. The line between compliance and confidence is thin. The ad copy does the rest. So how do you read the play? Watch for fronts that overperform. Giant scent claims, weeks-long freshness, foam as proof. Flip the bottle and hunt the tail. DMDM, Hydantoin, Quaternium 15, imidazolidinuria, diazolidinuria, bronopol, MIMCI. Scan for PEG and ETH as ethixylation clues, then see if the brand states 1,4-dioxane controls by method and limit, not just meets guidelines. Check the EU Twin online. If allergens are listed there and hidden here, the company chose opacity where allowed. Retailers are your shortcut. Credible house brand standards, no Lilial, no certain phthalates in fragrance, MI-free leave-ons, dioxane caps, PFAS exclusions, forced supplier reformulations that land on every shelf the brand supplies. One buyer's spec becomes your ingredient panel whether you noticed or not. Remember how the loop works. Sensation sells, certainty phrases, 99.9% kills, defense, quiet anxiety, and rebounds trick you. When you ditch drier sheets, static spikes for a few loads while residues wash out. When you move to true fragrance-free, your nose complains for 2 weeks, then resets. Companies count on that first week. Beat the script by expecting it. Same brand, different bottle isn't a conspiracy. It's a business model navigating 2 rulebooks and 1 human brain that's trained to treat smell as safety. Break that shampoo link and the Playbook gets body a lot wash. Less of the everyday drip. Start with the stuff that hits skin and scalp every day. Rinse off sounds harmless until you count frequency, steam, and thin skin. The backbone in many bottles is ethoxylated surfactants like sodium lauryl sulfate that clean well and foam big. During manufacture, those ethoxylated inputs can carry trace 14-dioxane. It's not added, so it won't appear on label. Europe bans intentional use and pressures suppliers to strip contamination. New York set strict caps that forced national reformulations. If a brand mentions vacuum stripping or publishes dioxane test limits, that's a green flag. Silence is your tell. Fragrance sits closer to your airway in the shower than anywhere else in the house. Hot water turns volatile components into a cloud you breathe at inches. In Europe, common allergens must be named past thresholds, limonene, linalool, citral, so a sensitive person can avoid known triggers. The US bottle can still say fragrance, full stop. If your eyelids puff after showers, the culprit may be in that black box, not your face cream. Preservation is the next trap. Water-based products needed. Some lines still lean on formaldehyde-releasing preservatives, DMDM, Hydantoin, Quaternium 15, imidazolidinyl or diazolidinuria, bronopol, or the isothiazolinons, MI and MCI. In Europe, MI-MCI are tightly limited in rinse-offs and effectively out of leave-ons after a surge in contact allergies. In the US, MI-MCI remain common in shampoos and body washes, especially free and clear that drop dye and heavy perfume. If you're sensitive, switch didn't help, check the tail end of the list for those names. Sulfate debates often miss the point. Sodium lauryl sulfate can be harsh. Sodium lauryl sulfate ethoxylated tends to be milder but brings the 14-dioxane question. You can clean well without either glucosides, sarcosinates, sulfosidates, isethionates if the formula is balanced. Foam theatrics don't equal gentleness or efficacy, removal does. Kids and eyelids are thin-skin case studies. A toddler's scalp sits under warm water and bubbles while volatile fragrance climbs. An adult's eyelids catch rinse water every morning. Clinicians see patterns. Removing fragrance and MI-MCI lowers flares for many families. It's not universal, it's common enough to be a first move. Plant-based on the front doesn't erase process on the back. Cocoa or Laurel plus eth or PEG hints ethoxylation, which means you should expect a brand statement on 14-dioxane controls. Credible versions cite a method and a limit, not meets guidelines. If the EU twin lists fragrance allergens online and the US twin doesn't, you've learned more than the bottle told you. Conditioners are a different animal. Cationic conditioning agents, oils, and film formers. Fragrance is the same story, near airways under steam. Preservatives matter because tubs and pumps see wet hands. Formaldehyde donors still pop up in budget lines. MIMCI appear in gentle options. Choose airless pumps or squeeze bottles over wide-mouth jars. Better packaging reduces preservation pressure. Body wash is shampoo for the rest of you. The same surfactant families, the same contamination question, the same fragrance cloud. If your chest or neck stings after showers, the trigger isn't always temperature. It can be the mist. Practical swaps hold up. Aim for true fragrance-free, not unscented. Fragrance-free should mean no fragrance or masking scents. Credible certifications publish criteria. Scan for donors: DMDM, Hydantoin, Quaternium 15, imidazolidinol/diazolidinolurea, Bronopol, and MIMCI. If you see eth or PEG, check whether the brand states dioxane controls. Shorter lists aren't a guarantee, but they shrink the unknown. Technique helps more than copy. Rinse hair back, not forward, to keep actives and fragrance away from eyelids. Use cooler water when possible. Steam magnifies inhalation. For kids, shorter baths with simpler formulas beat mountains of foam. If a scent-free swap feels flat, that's your brain resetting. Give it 2 weeks. Micro stories landed. A runner's eyelids stopped itching when she moved to a glucoside shampoo, a fragrance-free conditioner in a pump, and rinsed hair back. A parent solved a toddler's scalp rash by ditching tear-free with masking fragrance for a true fragrance-free wash and cutting bath time in half. An eczema-prone teen traded a citrus body wash for a short-list, MI-free cleanser and stopped chasing steroid cream. Retailers can shortcut the search. House brand standards that exclude Lilial, Cap 14 dioxane, bar MIMCI and leave-ons, and require EU-style allergen disclosure push suppliers to cleaner bases. You'll feel it in your shower without reading a regulation. One more quiet fix: dosing. Overusing concentrated shampoos and washes leaves more residue and pushes preservatives and fragrance harder into skin and air. A nickel-sized pool for short hair, quarter for long. A half pump for body wash with a cloth beats 3 perfume dollops by hand. If the bathroom still smells 10 minutes after you've finished, you used too much or the formula is performing for your nose. None of this asks you to become a chemist. It asks you to change 3 defaults: no fragrance, smarter preservation, and a surfactant system you can name without an encyclopedia. Do that and the room goes quiet. Your skin often follows. Lotions, deodorants, antiperspirants. Leave-ons that sit for hours. Leave-ons write the most important chapter because they don't rinse. They sit on warm skin, under clothing, in folds, and they travel with you all day. Think of them as slow-release decisions. What you put on at 7 a.m. is still part of your air and skin at dinner. Start with preservation. Water-heavy lotions need it, but the choice matters more when contact time is hours. In Europe, isothiazolinons were driven out of leave-ons after an allergy wave. In the US, MIMCI still show up in sensitive body lotions and hand creams. Formaldehyde-releasing preservatives, DMDM, Hydantoin, Quaternium 15, imidazolidinol and diazolidinolurea, Bronopol, still appear, especially in budget lines and tubs that invite fingers. If you're hypoallergenic, lotion tingles, or leaves a faint itch that hangs around, check the tail of the list. The bottle's vibe isn't the formula's reality. Now the paraben conversation with nuance. Not all parabens behave the same. Short-chain versions, methyl, ethyl, carry a different risk profile than long-chain propyl and butyl, which many European rules and retailers squeezed first. If you tolerate short-chain in a face lotion, fine. But in Bulgaria, high-occlusion products, body creams under clothes, diaper area care, lean toward systems that work at low pH, sodium benzoate, potassium sorbate, dihydrocetic acid, gluconolactone plus sodium benzoate, and multifunctionals like caprylyl glycol. Packaging helps. Airless pumps and tubes allow milder preservation and keep bathroom steam out. Wide mouth jars invite stronger systems and more contamination over time. Fragrance on leave-ons is a multiplier. You're not just smelling it, You're wearing it into cars, offices, and bedrooms, layering volatile compounds onto thin skin around neck, eyelids, and underarms. Europe forces common allergens to be named above thresholds. The US can still hide a masking scent under fragrance on a product labeled unscented. If recurrent eyelid dermatitis won't quit, dermatologists often remove fragranced lotions first. The fix usually feels boring and works quickly. Underarms are their own chemistry. Deodorant handles odor, antiperspirant changes sweat. Aluminum salts, aluminum chlorohydrate, and aluminum zirconium complexes form plugs in pores. For many people, they're the difference between calm and dread in a meeting. The irritation pattern isn't about aluminum's existence, it's about timing and skin condition. Apply antiperspirant at night to dry skin. Plugs form while sweat flow is low and last into the next day. Shave in the evening or every other day. Avoid swiping salts across micronicks. In the morning, if needed, use an unscented deodorant to manage odor without stacking fragrance under occlusion. Red patches and burn often fade within a week when timing changes alone. If odor is the only problem, aluminum-free paths exist. Magnesium hydroxide creams, zinc ricinoate to bind odor, gentle acidifiers that shift pH. Baking soda-heavy sticks can burn. BS-free options help sensitive skin. Fabric matters too. Tight synthetics trap heat. Breathable weaves reduce the dose you need. Underarm pads beat doubling product. Yellow stains often come from aluminum salts reacting with detergent residue. Use less detergent, rinse well, and pre-treat protein stains before heat sets them. Form factors change risk. Aerosol deodorants and sprays add solvent plumes and rely on propellants, where contamination scandals like benzene have hit categories. Sticks, roll-ons, and creams keep exposure closer to the skin and out of your lungs. If you must spray, do it in big, ventilated spaces and step out of the cloud. Better yet, pick a pump. Claims won't save you on their own. Dermatologist tested can mean a small panel on healthy adults. Hypoallergenic has no single legal definition. Clean is a mood, not a standard. What travels? True fragrance-free, preservative systems that fit the base, packaging that keeps hands out, and a routine that respects skin barrier. Micro-stories you can feel. A barista with cracked, burning lids dropped her scented body lotion and hand cream preserved with MI, moved to a fragrance-free body pump using sodium benzoate plus dihydrocetic acid, and switched to night-only antiperspirant with an unscented deodorant by day. 2 weeks later, the steroid tube stayed in the drawer. A high school forward with raw underarms stopped triple swiping before practice, shaved at night, applied antiperspirant to dry skin at bedtime, and wore a breathable undershirt on game days. The sting vanished, the jersey survived. Travel-sized traps are real. Mini jars get finger-dipped in planes and hotels. Contamination risk goes up, so preservation goes harsher. Bring your own pump or tube. For diaper care, stick with zinc pastes in tubes. Skip scented balms on warm, covered skin. Chopping fast, here's a 30-second pass. Flip to the end. Skip MI-MCI, DMDM Hydantoin, quaternium 15, imidazolidinol/diazolidinol urea bronopol. If fragrance appears on a product claiming unscented, put it back. Accept short-chain parabens if they're the only option and your skin tolerates them. Avoid long-chain where the product covers large areas. Prefer pumps and airless. For underarms, decide. Sweat control at night with unscented antiperspirant or odor control by day aluminum-free. Avoid aerosols in small rooms. 2-week rule, your nose will complain when fragrance disappears. Your skin often stops talking. Mark night application on your mirror. Let results, not headlines, decide. When leave-ons get boring, skin gets quiet. And quiet is the point. Toothpaste, mouthwash, floss. The oral care split screen. The bathroom mirror feels safe until you zoom in on the sink. Oral care rides a different rulebook because some products straddle drugs and cosmetics. The label looks clinical. The loopholes still live in the fine print. Start with toothpaste, past and present. For years, some pastes leaned on triclosan for gingivitis claims. The FDA removed triclosan from consumer hand soaps and tightened scrutiny. Most big pastes quietly reformulated, especially for daily use. You'll still see echoes in niche or legacy inventory and in non-US markets, but the bigger lesson sticks. Actives aren't a shortcut to technique. 2 minutes, gentle pressure, soft bristles, and a fluoride paste do more for enamel than an antibacterial badge ever did. Mouthwash writes a sharper inhale story. Alcohol-heavy formulas deliver that burn that reads like clean. Cetylpyridinium chloride, CPC versions swap the burn for a chemical aftertaste. Both can irritate tender mouths, especially if gums are inflamed, if you just floss too hard, or if you're dealing with dry mouth from meds. Add fragrance to cover the bite, and you've layered volatiles onto soft tissue. Europe's allergen disclosure helps sensitive users spot limonene and friends on leave-on skin. Inside the mouth, US bottles can still say flavor and fragrance without telling you which notes your lips and tongue are arguing with. Then there's Floss, the strip nobody expects to matter. PTFE floss glides because nothing sticks to Teflon. That's the point and the problem category, fluorinated performance in your gum life. The EU is moving toward wide PFAS phase-outs across categories. Several US states are banning intentionally added PFAS in cosmetics and consumer goods starting now. Floss sits in a regulatory gray zone, but your swap is simple. Silk floss, woven nylon tapes, or ultra-high molecular weight polyethylene glides give you the slide without the fluorine baggage. The first week feels different. By week 2, your fingers adapt. Sweeteners, dyes, and foaming agents round out the daily drip. Sodium lauryl sulfate in pastes can flare aphthous ulcers for some people, turning a canker week into a canker month. SLS-free pastes lower the odds without changing the brushing basics. Bright dyes add nothing to plaque scores. Whitener promises are usually abrasives and optical brighteners. Enamel is mineral, not vinyl. Once you abrade, you don't grow it back. Look for relative dentin abrasivity, RDA scores. A mid-range paste plus time beats harsh grit in a hurry. Kids change the stakes. They swallow more, can't rinse as reliably, and pick flavors that hide bite and burn. A pea-sized dab of fluoride paste matters for enamel. The brand's cartoon doesn't. Skip mouthwash unless a pediatric dentist asks for it. Flossers with a gently textured tape help small hands. Silk favorites keep the habit FAS-free. The split screen again. Europe pressures disclosure and restricts classes. The US lets flavor and fragrance keep their secrets. That's fine until your lips peel every Sunday night. Dentists and dermatologists see the pattern. Remove fragrance and SLS if you're prone to cheilitis or canker flares, simplify actives, and watch a dull routine outperform a bright promise. Micro stories make this stick. A nurse with burning lips thought it was lipstick. Pat testing was inconclusive. She dropped her minty SLS paste and switched to an SLS-free fluoride paste, unscented balm, and a silk floss. 3 weeks later, the fissures stayed closed. A grad student swore by extra-strength mouthwash. A hygienist pointed to recession and chronic dryness. She moved to a mild, alcohol-free rinse used only post-procedure, focused on brush angles, and added xylitol mints between classes. Sensitivity calmed without the daily burn. Technique beats theater. Angle the brush at 45 degrees to the gum line, short strokes 2 minutes. Floss in a C shape, slide under the gum edge, not just between the peaks. If tight contacts defeat you, try a woven tape or interdental brushes matched to tooth spacing. Color-coded sizes exist for a reason. Rinses are tools, not perfumes. Fluoride swish at night after brushing helps. Alcohol blasts don't fix a rushed morning. Chopping fast looks like this. Toothpaste, fluoride SLS-free if you're ulcer-prone, modest RDA, no unnecessary dyes. Mouthwash, alcohol-free unless a clinician prescribes otherwise. Skip daily CPC if your mouth complains. Avoid heavy fragrance. Floss, silk, woven nylon, or UHMWP. Leave PTFE on the shelf. Kids, pea-size paste, timers, flossers, no adult burn in small mouth. One last cue. If your breath feels worse after a week without the strong mint, it's your brain missing the anesthetic, not your mouth getting dirtier. Give it 2 weeks. Clean doesn't need pain or perfume. Your checkup will show you what worked. Makeup, sunscreen, hair color. Beauty's hidden cost. The mirror is where performance chemistry meets thin skin. Long-wear makeup, daily sunscreen, and hair color all promise control of shine, of sun, of gray. The control lands through films, filters, and dyes that behave differently on eyelids, lips, and scalp than they do on swatches. The split screen shows up here too. Europe names more risks on pack and retires whole classes sooner. The US lets long-lasting carry the story while the fine print stays quiet. Start with long wear. That 16-hour foundation glide often rides on film formers that lock pigment to skin. The red flag isn't every polymer, it's fluorinated ones, PFAS, used for slip and stain resistance. They help lipstick survive coffee and mascara survive rain. They also persist. European regulators are pushing broad PFAS phase-outs. Several US states already ban intentionally added PFAS in cosmetic. National rules lag, so your best move is simple. Scan ingredient lists for PTFE, perfluoro, or polyfluoro. Brands that remove them say so. Performance isn't lost, it shifts. Primers with non-fluorinated acrylates, silica or mica setting powders, and tubing mascaras that form water-removable sleeves keep wear without the forever footprint. Eyes are the thinnest skin you put makeup on. Fragrance in eye-adjacent lotions, primers, or concealers is a common tripwire. Europe forces allergen names above thresholds. US labels can hide them under fragrance. If lids burn or flake, move eye products to true fragrance-free and tubing mascara. The change is boring, the relief is fast. Sunscreen isn't optional. The active line decides trade-offs. Two filters have been the poster children for the chemical bucket, oxybenzone and octinoxate. They made clear, thin face formulas easy. They also set off endocrine and aquatic concerns. Several regions restrict them. Some US beaches ban them locally. Practical face rule: lean mineral, zinc oxide, or titanium dioxide, especially in creams, sticks, and tint. Tinted minerals solve white cast for many tones and add iron oxides that help with visible light and hyperpigmentation. Save aerosols for outside, if at all. Pumps, sticks, and lotions protect skin and spare lungs. Does mineral always mean chalky? Not anymore. Gel serum zinc for daily wear, richer creams for dry skin, and hybrid formulas without those two legacy filters cover most needs. If your teen will only wear a chemical option, pick one that omits oxybenzone and octinoxate and back it with hats, sleeves, and reapply drills. Compliance beats purity you won't use. Hair color is strong chemistry on warm, porous skin. Permanent dyes rely on oxidative dye precursors, PPD, p-phenylenediamine, and cousins like PTD that deliver lasting tone and, for some, lasting sensitization. Once you're sensitized, tiny exposures can trigger swelling, blisters, or eczema around hairline, ears, and lids. Patch tests on a box suggestion. They're a prerequisite, 48 hours, behind the ear every time, even with a familiar brand. If you react, you may cross-react to PTD lines labeled PPD-free. Safer placement matters. Off-scalp techniques, highlights, balayage, reduce scalp contact while keeping dimension. Semi-permanent direct dyes, glosses, and strategic cuts buy time between full processes. Eyes are non-negotiable territory. Never use oxidative color on brows or lashes unless a product is explicitly approved and delivered by a pro who respects patch testing and ventilation. Black henna tattoos at fairs. That jet black speed often means illegal PPD. Skip it. The cheapest ink can be the most expensive scar. Salon air is part of the equation. Blowout bars and color rooms concentrate vapors on busy days. Fans behind chairs, lids on mixing bowls, and timers for contact time protect stylists and clients. At home, crack a window, avoid mixing lines, wear nitrile gloves, and rinse back, not forward, to keep dye water off eyelids. Makeup around the mouth tracks a similar logic. Long-wear liquid lipsticks boasting all-day claims can include fluorinated slip agents. The fix is a primer plus a non-fluorinated long-wear formula and a micro powder to set the center. For removal, skip aggressive solvents that strip barrier. Oil or gentle balm dissolves tubing mascara and long-wear bases without sandblasting your face. Label triage in 30 seconds looks like this. Base, avoid PTFE, perfluoro, polyfluoro. Choose brands that publish PFAS-free policies and test data. Mascara, tubing, or non-fluorinated holds. Note that waterproof isn't a synonym for PFAS. Sunscreen, zinc or titanium on faces, tinted for cast, pumps over sprays. Avoid oxybenzone and octinoxate if you go chemical. Hair color, respect patch tests, favor off-scalp placement, consider lower PPD systems, and ventilate. Primers and eye creams, true fragrance-free near eyes. Micro stories lock it in. A morning show producer lived on bulletproof foundation and felt tight, shiny by noon. She switched to a PFAS-free primer, non-fluorinated long-wear base set with silica powder and a tubing mascara. Her cleanse stopped burning, her face stopped squeaking. A runner's face stung under chemical spray every summer. She moved to a tinted zinc stick for the race kit, a brimmed cap, and a body pump for arms. No more pool deck perfume, no more sting. A student's scalp wept after a box dye natural black. Patch test lit up PPD. She pivoted to highlights with no scalp contact and a softer cut. The look read intentional, not reactive. Technique outruns theater. 2-finger lengths of sunscreen for a face, a shot glass for a body. Reapply after sweat, swim, or towels. Don't count on yesterday's claims. Set makeup with light powder and blot midday. Long-lasting, shouldn't require a solvent bath at night. Color safely, ventilate, and keep dye off skin where you can. The mirror can stay fun. Just trade the forever film, foggy labels, and scalp gambles for tools that tell you what they're doing and skin fabric that stops arguing about it. The scent machine in small rooms. Walk into a small bathroom and pull the trigger on a fresh spray. What happens next isn't deodorizing, it's chemistry in a box. Volatile compounds ride the mist, meet steam, and fill the space your lungs are already working harder in. Terpene notes, citrus, pine smell honest, but indoors they can react with ozone that drifts in from outside and kick off secondary pollutants you never bought. That lemon burst becomes a mix of smaller, harsher molecules. Your eyes water. You call it strong. Your airway calls it work. Plugins turn that moment into a soundtrack. Warmers push fragrance 24/7, tiny pumps for tiny rooms. The promise is constant clean. The reality is a baseline you stop noticing until you leave for a day and come back. Microcapsules stitched into the air care narrative migrate to fabric, towels, curtains, and couch throws that release scent with heat and friction. Sit, stand, hug, fold laundry, and each pop adds to the room. Pets live at nose level to those fibers. Babies nap face down on them. You breathe what your textiles exhale. Musks do the heavy lifting you can't see. Synthetic polycyclic musks, galaxolide and friends, help scents persist on fibers and in dust. Europe has tightened scrutiny and restricted certain musks via hazard classes and reach actions. Here, the same base notes can hide under fragrance. If your sweater still whispers ocean 2 weeks after washing, that's persistence, not cleanliness. Dust carries those base notes from room to room. Vacuum bags tell the tale you don't want up your nose. Unscented sounds safe until you read it closely. Many unscented products add a masking fragrance that cancels odor without smelling perfumey. The result feels like nothing, it's still chemistry. Fragrance-free should mean none at all. In Europe, allergen disclosure gives sensitive users a map. In the US, your map is trial and error unless a brand chooses to publish components. If you're troubleshooting headaches or tight chests, that difference mattered. The dryer is a fog machine we pretend is a chore. Fabric softeners and dryer sheets coat fibers with cationic compounds for softness and static control, then vent a warm, sweet plume when the load finishes. That cloud doesn't stop at your laundry room door, it travels into hallways, courtyards, and cars. Enough of those plumes in an apartment stack and fresh becomes second-hand scent. If someone in your house has asthma or migraines, that first breath at the dryer can change the evening. Aerosols maximize inhalation by design. Fine particles hang longer, move deeper, and carry fragrance, solvents, and any contaminants behind the valve. Benzene contamination in aerosols was the wake-up call. Propellants and valves can invite guests you didn't pay for. Recalls happen after testing, not before shopping. Pumps and trigger sprays cut the propellant out of the equation. A damp microfiber cuts the airborne route out altogether. Ventilation isn't a suggestion, it's the multiplier. Fans that actually move air, cross breezes from a cracked window, and 5 extra minutes running the fan after you're done lower peaks your lungs would otherwise carry. In tiny bathrooms with weak fans, open the door once you've cleaned and keep kids and pets out until the room stops talking. In kitchens, run range hoods to the outside, not recirculating pads that perfume the air and return it to you. Fast swaps change the room in days. Pull plugins, retire fabric sprays, skip dryer sheets and softener for a month, use wool balls, lower heat and shorten cycles to control static. Wash soft furnishings with a true fragrance-free detergent, no masking scents, no MIMCI, and rerun a rinse on legacy items to strip residues. Store warm laundry outside bedrooms so off-gassing doesn't become sleep air. Stand aside when opening the dryer. Let the plume lift before you lean in. Shopping signals help. Look for true fragrance-free verified by programs that publish criteria. If a product claims unscented but still lists fragrance, put it back. For laundry, avoid encapsulated scent boosters entirely. On air care, avoid continuous devices in small rooms. If you insist on scent, use a brief burst in a large, ventilated space, then stop. If a brand discloses EU allergens globally, it's choosing clarity you can use. Micro-stories seal the habit. A tenant's headaches lined up with hallway plug-in refill days. Management removed the devices on her floor for a month, and the diary flattened. A cat with belly rashes stopped scratching when warm towels lost the softener coat. A runner's chest tightened every Sunday near the dryer. Ditching sheets, lowering heat, and cracking the window calmed the first breath. Here's the simplest test you'll ever run. If a room smells fresh when nothing happened inside it, the freshness came from a bottle, not clean air. Real clean is quiet. When your rooms go silent, bodies often follow. Shaving, grooming, nails, cuts, solvents, and steam. Shaving is chemistry on micro wounds. A razor leaves invisible nicks. Aftershaves, colognes, and scented balms ride straight into them. That sting you call clean is alcohol and fragrance hitting raw surface. Easier access, bigger reaction. In small bathrooms, steam opens skin and airways, and a quick splash turns into a plume you breathe at inches. If your neck stays blotchy or your jawline burns by afternoon, it isn't just the blade, it's what you poured into the cut. Start with the order of operations. Shave last, not first, so steam softens hair. Use a slick, low-fragrance cream or soap. Menthol and heavy perfume feel bracing but add irritation to a fresh pass. Rinse with cool water. If you want an antiseptic hit, choose an alcohol splash sparingly, then follow with a truly fragrance-free, lightweight moisturizer. Skip cologne on shaved skin. Put it on fabric, not follicles. Brush hygiene is a sleeper. Natural hair bristles trap residue and microbes. In warm, damp rooms, they become Petri dishes. Rinse thoroughly, shake out, and dry bristles down to keep moisture out of the knot. Once a week, wash with a mild, unscented soap. Once a month, a dilute vinegar rinse cuts film. Synthetic knots dry faster and shed less. Boring, effective. Aerosols sneak back in via shaving foams, dry shampoos, body sprays, and deodorants parked by the sink. They atomize ingredients into lungs and in bad lots have carried benzene contamination through propellants and valves. Pumps, sticks, and creams avoid the cloud. If you must spray, step into a large ventilated room, point away from your face, and leave immediately after the burst. Better yet, swap the format. Razor care changes skin. Blades dull faster than pride admits. Dragging steel scrapes barrier and invites folliculitis. Replace cartridges on a schedule, not by feel. Every 5-7 shaves for coarse hair. Sooner if you notice tug. Rinse with hot water, shake dry, and store away from the shower to reduce rust and microbes. Electric options trade closeness for fewer nicks. For reactive skin, that deal is worth it. Aftershaves red man, but often carry high fragrance loads. The fix isn't monkhood, it's separation. Use a fragrance-free post-shave balm on skin. Reserve scent for a small spritz on clothing once you've left the bathroom. Thin skin at the neck and behind ears reacts fast. Give it fewer reasons. Beards and balms aren't off the hook. Oils live inches from mouths and noses. Heavy fragrance or essential oil blends can turn a comfy chin into a subtle diffuser. Choose unscented blends. Wash whiskers with a mild, non-ethoxylated cleanser a few times a week to clear buildup without stripping. Nails bring solvents to the party. Traditional polish removers rely on acetone. Many gentle versions swap in ethyl acetate and other solvents that still fog small rooms. Gel and acrylic systems add methacrylates. Dust and fumes rise with every file pass. Ventilation isn't optional. At home, prop a fan in the doorway pulling air outward, crack a window, and work over a damp paper towel to trap dust. In salons, look for table-mounted source capture or at least visible fans behind stations. Covered trash for used wipes, and techs who wear nitrile gloves and masks when filing. Labels matter more than mood boards. 3 free, 5 free, and onward remove specific chemicals but don't always address solvent load. Quick test: if your eyes sting, your ventilation failed. Press pause, move air, dilute. For routine color, reduced solvent or water-based polishes reduce fumes. Longevity is improving, especially with thin coats and adequate dry time. Oil your cuticles with an unscented oil. Skip fragranced lotions right after removal when nail plates are dehydrated and porous. Cuticle care is technique, not drama. Don't cut, push back gently after a shower with a soft tool. Cutting invites hangnails and infections. Pushing preserves the seal. Sterilize clippers with alcohol, dry them, and store clean. Foot files and pumice shed dust. Use them over a damp towel and rinse it out after. Micro stories make it sticky. A barber noticed half his Monday clients left with neck burn. He ditched mentholated foams, switched to unscented gel and fragrance-free balm, and moved cologne to the cape after checkout. Tips went up, complaints went down. A home gel manicure fan added a box fan in the doorway, a cheap carbon filter near the table, and unscented cuticle oil for off-gassing hours. Headaches stopped by week 2. A frequent shaver with razor bumps swapped to night shaves, a milder blade, cool rinses, and no fragrance on skin. Ingrowns calmed without antibiotics. Bathroom airflow is the unsung hero. Run the fan during and for 20 minutes after shaving or nail work. If the fan barely moves tissue paper, crack a window for crossflow. Keep kids and pets out until the room goes quiet. Store solvents capped and away from heat. Never decant into food containers. Shopping fast, here's your 30-second pass. Shave, low fragrance cream, fresh blades, fragrance-free balm sent on fabric only. Beards, unscented oils, mild cleansers. Aerosols, skip, pumps and sticks win. Nails, reduced solvent or water-based polishes, acetone only when needed, ventilation every time. Tools, clean, dry, nitrile gloves for removals, masks for filing. Cuts, solvents, and steam don't need theatrics. They need space, timing, and fewer volatile extras. When the room stays quiet, skin and lungs follow. Labels that tell on themselves, decoding like a pro. You don't need a chemistry degree. You need a fast ritual that catches the quiet stuff before it catches you. Start with a promise. You'll flip every bottle for 60 seconds, and what you find there matters more than any leaf on the front. Fast flags first. If you spot DMDM, Hydantoin, quaternium 15, imidazolidinylurea, diazolidinylurea, or bronopol, that's the formaldehyde releaser family. They keep water from growing life and keep a lot of skin talking. MI and MCI, methylisothiazolinon and methylchloroisothiazolinon, live near the tail end of lists and trigger a lot of rashes, especially on hands and eyelids. In rinse-offs, they're common in the US. In leave-ons, they're a hard no. Fragrance language is next. Fragrance or parfum is a black box. Unscented often means a masking fragrance. Fragrance-free should mean none at all. In Europe, common fragrance allergens, limonene, linalool, citral, geraniol, benzyl alcohol, must be named above thresholds. If the brand's EU site lists them and the US label doesn't, you've learned who chose opacity. Now the eth and peg clue. Words like sodium lauryl sulfate, PEG 40, or anything ending eth suggest ethoxylation, which can bring the 1,4-dioxane hitchhiker from manufacturing. Not fatal, provided a brand vacuum strips inputs and publishes a limit by method. You want specifics. 1 ppm 1,4-dioxane by GCMS meets guidelines. Surfactant shortcuts help. For gentler cleansers, look for glucosides, cocoa/lauryl glucoside, isethionates, sarcosinates, or sulfosidates. For conditioners, cationics show up as behentrimonium chloride or methosulfate, fine in rinse-offs and many conditioners, but the problem isn't the name, it's the fragrance and preservation wrapped around it. Allergen lists in the EU are your cheat sheet, even if you live in Phoenix. Search a product's EU page. If you see limonene and linalool, you know the base note. If you're reactive, pick a line that discloses globally, not just where the law demands it. Seals can save time or waste it. Credible programs publish full criteria. Bar MI, MCI, and leave-ons, cap 1,4-dioxane, exclude certain phthalates in fragrance and require proof. Fragrance-free verification should ban masking scents. Beware seals that focus on packaging or carbon only while allowing proprietary fragrance and sensitizers at trace levels. If the standard doesn't name chemicals and numbers, it's wardrobe, not armor. Plant-based and naturally derived translate to check the back. Coconut-derived ethoxylates still raise the dioxane question. Essential oils are fragrances. Citrus terpenes oxidize into potent sensitizers indoors. Dermatologist tested can mean a small irritation panel on healthy adults. Hypoallergenic has no single legal definition. Some brands earn it, others borrow it. Makeup has its own tells. Scan for PTFE, perfluoro, or polyfluoro in long wear lists. Those are PFAS. Tubing mascaras list acrylates copolymers and remove with warm water. Sunscreen actives should say zinc oxide or titanium dioxide for mineral. Avoid oxybenzone and octinoxate if you go chemical on bodies. Hair color boxes should show PPD or PTD in ingredients. Ammonia-free doesn't mean allergy-free. Oral care cheats are simple. Pastes with sodium lauryl sulfate can flare cankers. SLS-free helps. Mouthwash labels hide volatiles under flavor. Alcohol-free and gentler CPC can still irritate. Listen to your mouth. Floss spools that say PTFE are Teflon. Pick silk, woven nylon, or UHMWPE tapes. 1-minute aisle workflow that actually works. Front scan, fragrance-free, not unscented. Skip aerosol formats. Flip, hunt MI, MCI, and formaldehyde releasers. Put back if present in leave-ons. Think twice in rinse-offs. Scan for PEG/Eth. Look for a stated dioxane control. If it's fragranced, check EU portal for allergens. If they disclose there but stay vague here, choose a brand that names components globally. Packaging, pumps and airless over jars. Fewer dips, milder preservation. For long-wear makeup, avoid PTFE/perfluoro. Choose tubing mascaras and non-fluorinated film formers. Sunscreen, zinc titanium for faces. Sticks and pumps over sprays. Floss, no PTFE. Brands know all this, which is why copy leans soothing. Your defense is dull, consistent, and fast. Read the end of the list, not the adjectives on the front. When a bottle stops performing for your nose and starts respecting your skin, the room goes quiet. That quiet is the whole point. Why you still fall for it? The brain, the ads, the habits. Get this, your brain learned clean by smell long before you learned labels. A grandmother's linen closet, a partner's hoodie, the first apartment that didn't smell like the last tenant. Those moments paired fresh with a feeling. Years later, one whiff of cotton flips a switch. You're not reading ingredients, you're chasing assurance. Advertising keys into that pairing. Copywriters test base notes until a blend says safe, warm, done. They wrap it in certainty phrases, kills 99.9%, 24-hour defense, odor eliminated, because certainty calms stress. After a pandemic trained everyone to sanitize, the promise of control felt non-negotiable. The bottle becomes a permission slip to stop worrying. Convenience finishes the sale. Pods, sprays, wipes compress work into seconds. A dryer sheet spares a tiny shock in a dark hallway. A plug-in spares a conversation about the litter box. The payoff is immediate. The cost spreads across days and rooms. Your nervous system remembers the reward. Your memory forgets the source. There's social signaling. Homes don't just get cleaned, they perform. If guests walk in and say, "It smells amazing in here," you feel like you did something right. If laundry announces mountain air from down the hall, it reads as care. Scent becomes an easy proxy for competence. That pressure sells product and sustains the myth that clean should be audible to the nose. Language disarms you. Plant-based, dermatologist-tested, hypoallergenic. None of those phrases are standards on their own, but they read like safety nets. Unscented sounds absent even when it's masking fragrance. Fragrance-free looks identical whether it's verified or marketing unless you've been burned by a rash and started reading tales. Your brain wants shortcuts. The aisle speaks fluent shortcut. Friction keeps you in the loop. Real fixes, ventilation, lower doses, gloves, cloths, ask for small behavior changes that don't photograph well. A microfiber cloth does sparkle. A room that smells like nothing doesn't feel like a win until a migraine doesn't show up or a kid sleeps through the night. Theater bridges that gap with bubbles you can see and perfumes you can remember. Default bias does the rest. You buy what your parents bought, what your roommate uses, what's on the end cap. If a brand's been in your house for a decade without a dramatic event, inertia wins. When a flare happens, familiar scripts step in. It's just winter skin, allergies are bad this year, the building's old. By the time you connect the dots, you've forgotten which bottle came home when. Comparisons are rigged against you. Try a lower scent detergent at the same dose and fabrics feel different for a week while residues wash out. Ditch dryer sheets and static spikes for a few loads. Switch to mineral sunscreen and notice tint or texture before you notice fewer stings. A vinegar rinse smells like vinegar for 10 minutes. It's easy to call the experiment a failure and run back to familiar. Companies count on that rebound. Habits fire on cues, routines, rewards. The cue, laundry basket full. The routine, dose high, sheet in, dryer on hot. The reward, a plume that says job done. If you don't replace the reward, the habit persists. That's why the smallest pivots work best. Keep the cue, swap the routine, keep a reward that isn't air you breathe. Soft towels without scent, a quiet room, a checklist you can tick. Here's how you rewire without martyrdom. Decide what proof looks like before you start. Not compliments about smell, fewer headaches, calmer skin, no fog when the dryer opens. Expect a 2-week reset where your nose complains and your brain doubts. Build micro rewards, a note on the fan switch, a streak counter on the fridge, a small treat for hitting 7 days. Move the sensory hit outdoors or to moments that don't load your air. a bouquet on the balcony, citrus oil on a cutting board while you cook, then it's gone. One candle outside after dinner. Scent becomes a choice, not a room tone. Your brain still gets a signal, your lungs don't carry it all night. Finally, make it social in the right places. Tell guests you're running fragrance-free for health, not preference. Ask gyms and schools what they're using, share a simple spec. When the building changes, your habits stick without willpower fights at home. You'll still see the bathroom
ads.
red
You just
flag
won't need the
field
cue
they're
guide.
selling. Rapid fire. We're going fast. Open your cabinet and run this scan. Preservatives first. If you see methylisothiazolinone, MI, or methylchloroisothiazolinone, MCI, that's a high-odds irritant in shampoos, body washes, sensitive cleaners, and even hand soaps. Pattern, eyelids, hands, and neck rashes that won't quit. Hard rule, never in leave-ons. Think twice in rinse-offs you use daily. Next, formaldehyde releasers. DMDM, Hydantoin, quaternium-15, imidazolidinylurea, diazolidinylurea, bronopol. They're cheap insurance against microbes and steady fuel for contact dermatitis. If they're in a lotion or a jar you finger dip, put it back. Fragrance is a black box with tells. Fragrance parfum alone is opacity. Unscented can still mean a masking scent. Europe forces allergen names past tiny thresholds: limonene, linalool, citral, geraniol, benzyl alcohol, which helps reactive users avoid precise notes. In the US, you'll often just see fragrance. Rule of thumb, true fragrance-free beats everything when troubleshooting skin or headache. If you want scent, pick a brand that discloses components globally and avoids lilial and certain polycyclic musks. Microcapsules are the stealth add-on. Detergents, softeners, and scent boosters tout beads that burst with movement. That's a slow-release system you wear and breathe. Red flag phrases, long-lasting freshness. Fragrance capsules, scent that reactivates with touch. If your laundry talks from down the hall, exposure didn't end in the washer. Surfactants and solvents next. Scan for ethoxylation clues. Eth endings, sodium lauryl sulfate, and PEG. They can carry the 1,4-dioxane hitchhiker unless suppliers vacuum strip. You want brands that state a method and limit for dioxane, not meets guidelines. Glycol ethers and degreasers and glass cleaners cut oil and can sting eyes and airways in small kitchens. If your oven door routine ends with watering eyes, trade aerosols for pastes, time, and a cracked window. Aerosols deserve their own siren. Propellants turn liquids into inhalable clouds and have been the source of benzene contamination in dry shampoos, sunscreens, and deodorants. Pumps, sticks, and creams are the safer format. If you must spray, go outdoors, downwind, and step out of the plume. Dyes and brighteners are theater. Optical brighteners in laundry make shirts look whiter by laying a film that fluoresces. Synthetic dyes turn cleaners blue or green to imply power. Neither cleans. Both add exposure and can irritate skin. If the color sold you, the chemistry is already doing a magic trick you don't need. PFAS pop up where performance claims get sticky, long wear makeup, and PTFE floss. Red flag words, PTFE, perfluoro, polyfluoro. Swap to tubing mascaras, non-fluorinated long wear bases set with powder, and silk or woven nylon floss. PFAS aren't in ingredient panels for fun, they hang around. Aluminum salts live in antiperspirants. Irritation isn't about aluminum itself as much as timing and skin condition. Night application to dry skin, shave separate from swipe, and use unscented deodorant by day if needed. If odor is the only battle, try magnesium or zinc systems and fabric choices before stacking fragrance under occlusion. Skip aerosols in small bathroom. Plant-based and naturally derived are translation jobs, not guarantees. Coconut-derived ethoxylates still raise dioxane questions. Essential oils are fragrances. Citrus terpenes oxidize indoors into sensitizers. Dermatologist-tested and hypoallergenic aren't universal standards. Look for specifics. MI/MCI bans in leave-ons, dioxane caps by method, EU-style allergen disclosure. Air and fabric are part of your bathroom, too. Plug-ins, cones, and odor-neutralizing sprays load small rooms with volatiles. Red flag, continuous devices in tight spaces. Microcapsule language on towels and sheets means scent won't quit. Ventilation is your multiplier. Fans that actually move air and 5 extra minutes after cleaning. Fast aisle workflow. Front, fragrance-free, not unscented. Avoid aerosols, skip scent boosters. Back, MI/MCI, formaldehyde releasers. Put back, especially for leave-ons. PEG/Eth. Expect a dioxane statement with numbers. Long wear makeup, avoid PTFE/perfluoro, choose tubing mascara. Sunscreen, mineral for faces, pumps and sticks over sprays. Floss, silk or woven nylon, not PTFE. Packaging, pumps and airless bead jars. Home tests you can feel. Hold a clean shirt at arm's length. If you smell it, you overdosed or the formula is performing. Open the dryer and step aside. If a sweet fog rolls out, that's chemistry, not cleanliness. If a product tingles, itches, or stings, stop. Pain isn't proof it's working. Last piece, retailer standards are your shortcut. House brand specs that exclude Lilial, cap dioxane, bar MI, MCI in leave-ons, and ban PFAS in cosmetics force suppliers to lift baselines you'll feel without reading a law. Quiet rooms, calm skin, that's the only fresh that counts. 2-weekend bathroom overhaul, your step-by-step playbook. No panic carts, no chemistry degree. 2 weekends, 6 moves, and the room gets quiet. Proof is how you feel on Monday, not what the bottle promises on Sunday night. Weekend 1 starts with the loudest sources: laundry, air care, and hand dish soaps. Pull everything that adds scent to fabric or air: plug-ins, scent cones, fabric sprays, dryer sheets, softeners, scent boosters. Box them, label, pause 30 days, and set aside. Wash 1 load of towels and 1 set of sheets with a true fragrance-free detergent. No unscented, no masking fragrance, no MI/MCI in the tail. Then run an extra rinse. Dry on lower heat with wool balls. Stop the cycle a minute early to avoid over-dry static. If towels feel scratchy, it's residue, cut detergent dose again and add a rinse-only cycle once to strip legacy films. Open the air. Before you clean, crack a window or door for 5 minutes. Turn on the bathroom fan during and for 20 minutes after showers or cleaning. If the fan barely holds a tissue, create a cross breeze. A cracked door plus a slightly open window moves more than a humming vent. Keep kids and pets out until the room stops talking. At the sink, swap to fragrance-free hand soap preserved without MI/MCI or formaldehyde releasers, pumps, beet jars. In the kitchen, pick a dish soap with a short list and no isothiazolinons. If choices are thin, dilute a concentrate fresh in a small bottle. Fresher mixes need milder preservation. Add a pair of thin nitrile gloves by the sink. Hands heal faster when wet work stops stripping barrier. That's the whole first Saturday. Sunday, repeat the laundry routine for clothes you wear most: shirts, bras, workout gear, and wash 1 soft furnishing, pillowcases or bath mats. Store warm laundry outside bedrooms to let off gassing happen where you don't sleep. Tape a mark on the detergent cap at the reduced dose you just learned works. Future you will use it without thinking. Weekend 2 moves to leave-ons, sunscreen, floss, and makeup triage. Start with body lotion and face moisturizer. Choose true fragrance-free and pumps or airless, preserved with sodium benzoate-potassium sorbate at low pH, dihydrocetic acid or gluconolactone plus sodium benzoate. Skip MI/MCI and formaldehyde donors. If parabens are the only option, accept short-chain methyl ethyl in small areas your skin tolerates. Avoid long-chain in big area, high-occlusion products. Patch test new leave-ons on inner forearm for 3 days before moving to the face. Underarms get a reset. Decide, sweat control or odor control. For sweat, apply an unscented antiperspirant at night to dry skin. Shave evenings, not right before swiping. In the morning, use an unscented deodorant only if needed. Magnesium or zinc systems help without stacking fragrance. Skip aerosols in the bathroom. Sticks, roll-ons, or creams keep your lungs out of the loop. Expect 1 week for plugs to settle and irritation to fade. Sunscreen becomes automatic. For faces, pick a tinted zinc oxide or zinc titanium formula you'll actually wear. Park it by your toothbrush and apply 2 finger lengths each morning. Put a stick by the door for ears and neck and a body pump in the bag. If a family member insists on a chemical formula, choose one without oxybenzone or octinoxate and back it with hats and sleeves. Sprays live outdoors only. Pumps and sticks win inside. Oral care, switch floss to silk, woven nylon, or ultra-high molecular weight polyethylene. Leave PTFE on the shelf. If you get canker flares, try an SLS-free fluoride paste. Drop daily burn rinses. Keep a mild, alcohol-free option for post-procedure days. Makeup triage is simple. Scan long wear for PTFE, perfluoro, or polyfluoro. If they're there, move to non-fluorinated long wear set with powder and tubing mascara that removes with warm water. For eye-adjacent primers and creams, choose true fragrance-free. Upgrade packaging, not just product. Pumps and airless beat wide mouth jars, fewer dips mean milder preservation works. Replace aerosols with pumps or solids, dry shampoo powders, pump hairsprays, stick deodorants. Store solvents capped, away from heat, and never in food containers. Anchor the habits you just built. Put a sticky by the fan switch, 20 minutes. Set a phone reminder for night antiperspirant the first week. Keep wool balls in the dryer drum so sheets don't sneak back. Print a tiny checklist for the cabinet door, fragrance-free, my/Mackay-free, no formaldehyde donors, no PTFE, and snap a photo for the aisle. Expect the rebound week. Static spikes for a few loads, noses miss perfume, towels feel different as residues wash out. Your proof isn't compliments about smell, it's fewer headaches, calmer skin, no fog when the dryer opens. Give it 2 weeks. If you want one bonus lever that moves more than your shelf, ask your retailer for their house brand standards. Programs that exclude Lilial, Cap 1, 4-dioxane, bar MI/MCI in leave-ons, and ban PFAS in cosmetics force cleaner bases you'll feel at home. One buyer's spec becomes your air without a speech. 2 weekends in, your bathroom doesn't perform. It works. Quiet air, skin that stops talking, and a routine you can run half asleep. Those are the only wins that matter. The system-level levers. Schools, gyms, clinics, retailers. What you fixed at home becomes effortless when the places you visit stop loading the air. One email, one spec, and the baseline shifts for hundreds of people who never learned your label ritual. Make it boring, measurable, and easy to buy. Start with schools. Ask for a one-page procurement spec. Fragrance-free hand soap, MI/MCI-free leave-ons, lotions, wipes, powdered or liquid laundry for shared linens with no fragrance or masking scents, and daily cleaning with soap or hydrogen peroxide. Disinfectants reserved for vomit, blood, or post-it outbreaks with contact time and ventilation. Add a no continuous air fresheners clause for classrooms, bathrooms, and hallways. Put fans on the work order. Exhausts tested to move air with a simple target, run during cleaning and 20 minutes after. The nurse log will tell you what happened. Fewer wheeze visits after lunch, fewer headache slips at 2 p.m., calmer eczema around nap mats. Gyms are sweat plus solvents in tight rooms. The ask, peroxide-based daily cleaners for mats and benches, alcohol for high-touch metal, no quats fogging, no aerosols in studios, and fragrance-free laundry for towels. Post a visible timing card by each station. Spray, dwell, wipe, so contact time replaces more is better. Crack exterior doors between classes, run fans behind rowers, not in front of faces. Locker rooms get the same rules, pumps and sticks over sprays, and no plugins by the scale. Members feel the difference on the second workout. Clinics already live in protocols. They need refinements that help patients with reactive airways and skin. Front desk and patient rooms, fragrance-free soaps and sanitizers with disclosed actives. Avoid MI/MCI in any leave-on given to patients. Sample lotions, post-procedure balms. Cleaning, detergent first, then targeted disinfectants with contact time. No blanket fogging. Laundry for gowns and blankets goes fragrance-free. Ventilation becomes a checklist item. Fans on during turnover, doors closed for dwell, then aired before the next patient. The cough in the waiting room stops being part of the experience. Retailers move the middle fastest. House brand standards can do what federal rules don't. Exclude Lilial and certain polycyclic musks from fragrance. Bar intentionally added PFAS in cosmetics. Set numeric caps for 14-dioxane in ethoxylated inputs by method, for example, 1 ppm by GCMS. Forbid MI/MCI in leave-ons and restrict them in rinse-offs. Require EU-style allergen disclosure globally and publish pass-fail criteria. Tie those specs to supplier attestations and periodic spot tests. Total fluorine screens for long-wear makeup, benzene checks in aerosols by lot, and dioxane data on surfactant-heavy lines. One chain publishes the results, and suppliers harmonize up because 2 formulas cost more than 1. Testing doesn't need a university. Districts can pool for quarterly spot checks, grab the top-selling long-wear base and run a total fluorine screen, scan a few aerosols for benzene, send 1 detergent for dioxane. Scorecards with green, yellow, red keep vendors honest. Facilities logs become data. Product name, lot code, room, time, symptoms, turn I don't feel good into patterns you can fix. Write the ask like a grocery list, not a manifesto. fragrance-free soaps, no MIMCI and leave-ons, peroxide daily, disinfect when earned, no aerosols indoors, fragrance-free laundry, numeric dioxane caps, PFAS-free cosmetics, allergen disclosure. Offer 3 compliant SKUs per category so buyers can click approved and move on. You felt these levers at home. Pull them once for a school, a gym, a clinic, a chain, and your quiet rooms multiply without another conversation at your sink. Micro stories that change behavior. Proof you can feel. The eyelid rash that wouldn't quit didn't end with a miracle cream. It ended with a Saturday spent rewashing linens. She detried everything, eye gels, steroid taps, fragrance-free balms that weren't. A pharmacist asked the dull question, did you change detergent? She reran sheets and pillowcases in a true fragrance-free powder, no MIMCI, extra rinse, and skipped dryer sheets. By Thursday, the swelling was gone. The eye cream wasn't the culprit. Fabric that touched eyelids 8 hours a night was. Across town, a line cook's winter hands looked like cracked clay. He blamed sanitizer and the cold. An allergist circled the sink routine, sensitive dish soap preserved with MI and a fragranced hand wash. He swapped both for fragrance-free formulas preserved with sodium benzoate plus dihydrocetic acid, added thin nitrile gloves for pans, and kept a pump balm by the faucet. 10 days later, the fissures closed. The menu didn't change. The chemistry touching skin did. A jogger who swore he was just out of shape coughed every Sunday near the dryer. He loved fresh towels. He also loved opening the drum and inhaling a sweet fog. He pulled sheets and softener for a month, lowered heat, added wool balls, and cracked the window for 5 minutes after cycles. The cough stopped before his 5K time did. The hill stayed the same. The plume vanished. In a preschool, the nap room was a rash factory. Teachers wiped tables with a fragrance spray and laundered mats in softener. The director wrote a 1-page spec, fragrance-free laundry, soap and water for daily cleans, peroxide for messes, and unplugged the hallway diffusers. Nurse visits dropped in a week. Toddlers didn't learn chemistry. The building did. A grad student labeled her headaches grad school. She kept a diary. Spikes landed on her floor's plug-in refill day and after she used a citrus degreaser. She pulled the hallway warmers, cracked the window during kitchen cleanups, and traded the spray for a paste and a damp cloth. 3 weeks of notes went flat. Her thesis stayed complicated. Her air didn't. A guitarist with canker sores that lasted forever finally ditched the minty burn. He moved to an SLS-free fluoride paste, a silk floss, and skipped daily antiseptic rinses for xylitol mints between sets. Ulcers stopped stretching into weeks. He didn't buy a miracle mouthwash. He removed the daily tripwire. A morning show producer lived on bulletproof foundation and waterproof mascara. Her face felt tight by noon and raw at night. She scanned labels, no PTFE, no perfluoro, a FOS-free primer, non-fluorinated long-wear base set with silica, and a tubing mascara that slid off with warm water. Her cleanse took 1 pass, not 3. Skin stopped squeaking. Ratings didn't change. Her barrier did. A barber noticed Mondays hurt. Half his clients left with neck burn. He dropped mentholated foam and heavy colognes on shaved skin, switched to an unscented gel and a true fragrance-free balm, and moved scent to fabric after the cape came off. Complaints disappeared. Tips didn't. A tenant's migraines lined up with laundry day, hers or the neighbor's. The super agreed to a trial. No plug-ins in common areas, signage asking residents to skip dryer sheets, fans running in the basement during peak hours. 1 month later, the headache chart looked like a calm sea. The building didn't get new windows. It got new habits. A runner who hated chalky sunscreen found a tinted zinc stick she could swipe blind and a brimmed cap she liked. Pumps replaced sprays. Reapply lived next to her watch alarm. No more pool deck perfume. No more sting on mile 3. Sun protection stopped being a negotiation. A parent's diaper routine stopped an itch without a prescription. They traded scented wipes for water-based, true fragrance-free ones, and a zinc paste in a tube. They washed baby blankets in a fragrance-free powder and ran an extra rinse. 2 nights later, sleep returned. They didn't upgrade to a luxury balm. They removed fragrance from warm, covered skin. A home gel mani fan added a box fan at the door, a cheap carbon filter on the table, and unscented cuticle oil for off-gassing hours. Headaches evaporated. She kept her color. She moved her air. A high school forward with raw underarms stopped triple swiping. He shaved at night, used antiperspirant on dry skin before bed, wore a breathable undershirt, and switched to an unscented deodorant on game days. The sting left. The jersey survived. A pet owner with a cat that scratched her belly bald loved calming lavender softener. The vet asked for 2 washes, fragrance-free detergent, no softener, extra rinse, then wait 2 weeks. Fur returned like nothing had happened. The litter box didn't move. The towels did. These aren't grand gestures. They're tiny pivots tied to where skin and air meet most. Each story follows the same curve. Remove the loudest sources, give it 2 weeks, let quiet be the data. No one misses the scent as much as they think they will. Everyone notices what leaves with it: stings, coughs, hives, fog. If you want your own proof, pick 1 microzone and 1 rule. Rewash the bed and park softener for a month. Swap hand soap to fragrance-free, my/Mackay-free. Pull plug-ins and run the fan 20 minutes after you clean. Change floss. Tape a mark on the detergent cap at your new dose. Keep a boring little log: date, change, symptom. When the log goes blank, that's the point. Clean never needed a smell. The lie did. And when rooms go quiet, bodies often do too. If you want the ingredient cheat sheet and our reformulation tracker, subscribe. Then watch the deep dive on hidden toxins in personal care and how to read labels like a pro. 1 video turns your cabinet into calm.